Dive into the gripping untold stories of the Bonanza cast, once television legends, now navigating lives forever altered by tragic accidents. What unexpected twists reshaped their destinies? Who managed to rise from adversity, and who faded into obscurity? As we step into 2025, we uncover the fates of these beloved stars, exploring resilience, loss, and the profound impact of life's unforeseen challenges. The revelations may shock you, the journeys may inspire you. This is a story you don't want to miss. Michael Landon, who portrayed Little Joe Cartwright, was only 22 when he embodied the fiery youngest son of the Cartwright clan, exuding youthful charm, passion, and a fierce protective streak. While Landon's star rose rapidly on Bonanza, his personal life was increasingly marked by silent anguish. Married 3 times, he fathered 9 children, including adopted and biological ones, Jennifer, Michael Jr., Leslie, Mark, and others, but struggled to balance fatherhood with a demanding career. Rumors of infidelity and emotional distance plagued his marriages, especially his final union with Cindy Clerico. After Bonanza, Landon tried to reinvent himself with Highway to Heaven and Little House on the Prairie, but behind the scenes he battled chronic migraines, addiction to painkillers, and the grief of losing close friends. He was devastated by the death of his daughter Cheryl in a car accident, and his own diagnosis of pancreatic cancer. Landon died in 1991 at the age of 54. Despite his image as a family man, he died estranged from several children and with unresolved tensions. His estate, valued at around $8 million, was split among his survivors, though disputes over inheritance would drag on for years in court. Pernell Roberts, who played Adam Cartwright, the brooding, intellectual eldest son, brought gravitas and quiet intensity to the early seasons of Bonanza. He was 31 when he joined the show but clashed with producers over what he saw as shallow scripts and lack of social commentary, prompting his controversial exit. Though he later starred in Trapper John, MD, his career never regained its momentum. Roberts was married 4 times, each union dissolving under pressure, often due to his fierce independence and emotional aloofness. He had 1 son, Jonathan, whose suicide at 39 haunted Roberts deeply, and was a wound he never recovered from. A lifelong civil rights activist, he often felt out of place in Hollywood and withdrew from the spotlight in his later years. Plagued by loneliness and estranged from many former colleagues, he lived quietly in Malibu, battling cancer and depression. Roberts died in 2010 at age 81 from pancreatic cancer. His estate was estimated at $3 million, much of it left to medical charities and social justice causes he had championed in life. Guy Williams, who briefly portrayed Will Cartwright, a charming, strong-willed cousin introduced during a transitional period on Bonanza, was already a household name from Zorro. Though his stint on the Ponderosa was short-lived, Williams hoped it would revive his U.S. acting career. Instead, feeling typecast and frustrated by dwindling roles, he moved to Argentina where he was adored by fans but increasingly forgotten by Hollywood. He married model Janice Cooper, with whom he had 2 children, Guy Jr. and Tony, but the marriage ended in a bitter divorce marked by accusations of neglect and alcoholism. As acting offers dried up, Williams became reclusive and battled a series of financial misfortunes, including failed investments. He reportedly suffered from untreated bipolar disorder, and his last years were spent in near solitude in Buenos Aires. His body was discovered in 1989, days after his death from a suspected brain aneurysm. He was 65. His estate was estimated at only $400,000, most of which went to his children after a quiet and contested probate process. Mariette Hartley, who played Sister Catherine, a warm, idealistic nun in a poignant guest role on Bonanza, brought depth and compassion to the screen. She was 29 during her appearance, and though it was brief, it cemented her reputation for emotionally grounded roles. Hartley's career flourished for a time with Emmy-winning performances and a stint as a mental health advocate, but her personal life was fraught with hidden trauma. Married twice, she endured the suicide of her father and grandfather, which left her with a lifelong battle against depression. Her second marriage to Patrick Boyervan ended in divorce, despite raising 2 children, Justine and Sean. Struggles with anxiety and alcohol, especially after a series of miscarriages and career disappointments in the late 80s, led her into rehab. Though she later published a candid memoir, her TV appearances waned, and she now lives in semi-retirement. At 84, she remains active in mental health advocacy but rarely appears in public. Her estate is currently estimated at $1.5 million, modest by Hollywood standards, though she has arranged for much of it to support suicide prevention programs. Lorne Greene, who portrayed Ben Cartwright, the wise and commanding patriarch of the Ponderosa Ranch, was 44 when Bonanza began. His dignified performance earned him a place in television history as the embodiment of fatherly strength and moral clarity. Off-screen, Greene's life was far less stable. Married to actress Nancy Deal, their union was marred by emotional distance and the demands of fame. They had 3 children, Chuck, Linda, and Belinda, but he remained estranged from Chuck after a bitter inheritance dispute. Post-Bonanza, Greene's career faltered as he was typecast and rarely found roles of similar gravitas. He battled depression and a sense of fading relevance, often withdrawing from public life. A tragic car accident in 1975 left him with lingering health issues. He also endured the deaths of 2 close friends and the suicide of his brother. Greene died in 1987 at the age of 72 from pneumonia following ulcer surgery. At his death, his estate was estimated at $3 million, much of it tied up in failed investments and ranch property he could no longer maintain. Dan Blocker, who played the beloved Hoss Cartwright, joined Bonanza at age 30. With his imposing size and soft-spoken charm, he brought a gentle depth to the role of the Cartwright family's moral compass. In reality, Blocker's personal life was far more complex. He married Dolphia Parker, his college sweetheart, but the pressures of fame and long shooting hours caused emotional strain. They had 4 children, David, Deborah, Dennis, and Dana Lynn, but he was frequently absent, and Deborah later wrote of feeling fatherless, despite his fame. After Bonanza's peak, Blocker struggled with his weight and self-image, turning down many roles due to insecurities. He suffered from anxiety and once collapsed on set from exhaustion. The death of a co-star in a car accident deeply affected him. He died unexpectedly in 1972 at 43 from a post-operative pulmonary embolism after gallbladder surgery. His estate was valued at around $1.5 million, much of it placed in trust for his children. Ray Teal, remembered as Sheriff Roy Coffey, joined Bonanza with a long career behind him. He was 61 when he took on the role of the calm, seasoned lawman whose loyalty to Virginia City and respect for the Cartwrights made him a pillar of the show. Teal was a quiet man in real life, reclusive and guarded. He never married, reportedly due to heartbreak from a failed engagement in the 1940s. He lived alone for most of his life, sharing his home only with his dog, Max. After Bonanza, he struggled with health issues, including arthritis and worsening eyesight, which made reading scripts increasingly difficult. He also faced financial troubles after investing in a failed Western-themed amusement park. Teal suffered a stroke in 1975 and passed away the following year at the age of 74. He left behind a modest estate valued at just under $300,000, much of which went to his longtime housekeeper and caretaker. Shannon Hale, who brought spark and sweetness to the role of Molly in a few episodes of Bonanza, was 32 when she joined the cast. Though her appearances were brief, her charisma left an impression. Hale's off-screen life was marked by a series of unfulfilled dreams. She married stand-up comedian Tommy LeClaire in 1965, but their union was turbulent, riddled with infidelity and financial instability. They divorced in 1978 after years of separation. They had 1 child, a son named Blake, who distanced himself from Hale in adulthood, blaming her for the instability of his childhood. After Bonanza, Hale found few substantial acting opportunities and drifted into obscurity. She supported herself with voiceover work and sporadic guest roles but battled depression and alcoholism throughout the 1980s. A fire destroyed her home in 1991, leaving her homeless for months. Now living quietly in a senior care facility, Hale is 91 years old. Her estate is estimated at a modest $150,000, with most of her memorabilia donated to a television museum. Mildred Natwick, who portrayed Aunt Lil, the iron-willed, sharp-tongued yet big-hearted matriarchal figure, was 66 when she joined Bonanza. Her role added gravity and grace, a balance of matronly wisdom and frontier resilience. While her career thrived in the later years, her private world was quietly unraveling. She never married, though she had a long, discreet companionship with theater producer Violet Granger, a relationship stifled by the era's constraints. Natwick endured decades of strained relations with her conservative family, especially her younger brother, who disowned her in the 1960s. She battled severe arthritis and macular degeneration, retreating into solitude. 3 godchildren, whom she raised like her own, distanced themselves in her later years due to inheritance disputes. Despite these rifts, she remained intellectually active until a stroke confined her to assisted care. Mildred died in 1994 at the age of 89 from pneumonia complications. Her estate, valued at roughly $1.3 million, was mostly consumed by medical expenses and contested wills, with a small portion left to the theater guild she once adored. David Canary, who brought warmth and grit to Candy Canaday, the Cartwrights' ever-loyal foreman, was 30 when he joined the cast. Known for his stoic strength and boyish charm, Canary quickly became a fan favorite. However, his off-screen life veered into darker territory. He married stage actress Leah Caldwell in 1970, a turbulent union scarred by miscarriages and long separations due to David's erratic behavior and rising alcohol dependence. They had one daughter, Lizette, whose estrangement in her teens sent Canary into a deep depression. After a brief renaissance in soap operas, Canary's career dried up, and he withdrew from Hollywood entirely following a breakdown in 1999. He lived his final years in semi-isolation, suffering from early-onset Alzheimer's that left him confused and dependent on home care. He passed away in 2015 at age 77 from complications of the disease. Despite his modest lifestyle, his estate, bolstered by decades of residuals and careful savings, was estimated at $2.4 million, mostly bequeathed to Alzheimer's research charities. Bing Russell, who portrayed the diligent deputy Clem Foster, was 45 when he joined Bonanza. His portrayal of the quiet, dependable lawman reflected his real-life stoicism. While the role offered consistency, his post-Bonanza years were a swirl of professional disappointment and personal neglect. Married to dancer Lise Crandall, their relationship buckled under Bing's obsession with semi-professional baseball, which he prioritized over family. They had 4 children, including actor Kurt Russell, but Bing remained emotionally distant, often absent from his children's milestones. When his independent baseball team, the Portland Mavericks, failed financially in the early 80s, it triggered a long decline. Diagnosed with prostate cancer in the late 1990s, Bing refused aggressive treatment, claiming he'd had his innings. He died in 2003 at 76, surrounded not by family but by former teammates. Though his legacy was honored in baseball documentaries, his funeral was sparsely attended. His estate, diminished by sports ventures and unpaid debts, was worth approximately $850,000, with most of it going to creditors. Mitch Vogel, who brought youthful sincerity to Jamie Hunter Cartwright, joined Bonanza at just 14, winning hearts as the orphan who found a family. On screen, he was bright-eyed and full of hope, but off-screen his life followed a cruelly different script. After the show ended, he struggled with typecasting, drifting into B-movies, and eventually quitting acting in his early 20s. He married his high school sweetheart, Sarah Lennox, and had 3 children, Nolan, Ivy and Jasper. The marriage was rocky. Financial hardship and Vogel's quiet battles with addiction wore it thin. His daughter Ivy tragically died in a hiking accident in 2001, a blow from which he never recovered. Vogel's failed attempts at returning to acting in the 1990s were met with rejection. Now 68, he lives in relative obscurity in Northern California, sustained by Social Security, modest royalties, and part-time work at a local theater. His estate is modest, estimated at under $300,000, with most assets tied up in his home. Despite his tragic turns, he remains soft-spoken and reflective, haunted but enduring. Tim Matheson, who portrayed Griff King, was just 27 when he joined Bonanza as the young ex-convict seeking redemption under the guidance of Ben Cartwright. His role, though short-lived, showcased his charm and emotional range, marking a bright point in the series' later years. After Bonanza, Matheson's career took off briefly with roles in Animal House and various television series, but his personal life faltered. He married actress Jennifer Leake, but their union dissolved within 5 years due to infidelity and emotional distance. His second marriage to Megan Murphy seemed more stable, yielding 3 children, Cooper, Emma, and Molly, but ended in a bitter divorce amid allegations of substance use and workaholism. Matheson struggled with depression throughout the 1990s, briefly disappearing from Hollywood altogether. Though he eventually returned to directing and supporting roles, he never quite reclaimed his early momentum. Now 77, he lives quietly in California, rarely granting interviews. His estimated estate is around $4 million, largely preserved through real estate investments and residuals, though friends report he lives modestly, haunted by personal regrets and the family he couldn't hold together. Victor Sun Young, who portrayed Hop Sing, brought comic relief and quiet dignity to Bonanza as the Cartwrights' loyal cook. Joining the cast in the late 1950s, Young faced Hollywood's racial typecasting, often confined to servant roles despite his talent. Off-screen, his life was marked by profound loneliness. He never married, reportedly due to his long unrequited love for a fellow actress who dismissed his affections. His relationship with his family grew strained after a bitter inheritance dispute following his mother's death. Professionally, work became scarce after Bonanza ended, leading him to open a failed restaurant and eventually sell cookware on the road. He was nearly killed during a 1972 gas explosion while demonstrating a pressure cooker, leaving him with lasting injuries. His health deteriorated in the late 70s, and he was found dead in 1980 at age 65, alone in his apartment, the cause believed to be accidental gas poisoning. His estate was valued at only $15,000, and few attended his quiet funeral, a stark contrast to the joy he once brought to millions. Grandon Rhodes, remembered as Dr. Paul Martin, appeared in more than a dozen episodes of Bonanza as the stoic and compassionate town physician. Cast in his late 50s, Rhodes brought an air of seasoned wisdom to his role, but his off-screen life was anything but serene. Married to silent film actress Eloise Hall, their union was marred by career jealousy and multiple separations. The couple had 2 sons, Patrick and James, both of whom struggled with substance abuse and estrangement from their father. Following the end of Bonanza, Rhodes found acting opportunities drying up, and he slid into obscurity. He fell into financial hardship in the early 80s after losing his savings in a failed oil investment scheme. The final years of his life were spent in a modest retirement home in Los Angeles, where he was largely forgotten by Hollywood. He died of heart failure in 1987 at the age of 82, reportedly without family at his side. His estate was estimated at $80,000, with most of it left to a local animal shelter, his only remaining source of comfort in his final years. Who is your favorite character from Bonanza? How does it feel knowing that some of the actors are no longer with us? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this type of content, Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on future uploads. Thank you for your support.